Hey, what's happening, everybody? It's me, Crazyfrankie, and I'd like to welcome you to my NFL Playoffs Super Wild Card Weekend. The NFL Playoffs finally arrived, and I do apologize to those who probably were waiting for my video. It's kind of a hectic week for me personally because my work hours changed. I was supposed to get this video up Wednesday, but because my schedule changed, I had to work much later, and I wanted to wait a little bit to get a little more insight on all 6 games coming up, and then I was pretty tired and I didn't get a chance to record this video. So sorry that this is late. It's late on Thursday into Friday, and we're already heading into Saturday's, Sunday, and Monday night's game. So obviously I don't want to talk about I'm going to try to keep this video as short as possible. So bear with me here. This will be pretty long because we're talking about 6 games here that we have to talk about. And of course, the Packers and the Titans are the number 1 seeds in both conferences, and they will have a bye. So they won't play until the divisional round, which is next week. So the way I'll do this is that I will start with the AFC games first, and then I will do the NFC games second. And that's basically how I do it in all of the NFL playoffs. I like to begin with the AFC and NFC, mostly kind of like a and N as basically alphabetical order. I know it's kind of redundant, but but that's how I roll and that's how I do it. So let's talk about Super Wildcard Weekend. I'm not going to talk about Week 18. Week 18 was crazy, and I was a little bit upset. Obviously, if anybody knows me on a personal level, because the Raiders beat the Chargers, and that was actually, in my opinion, the game of the week, and it was a classic. But I just didn't like the result. But hey, Raiders won. Give them credit. Anyways, let's talk about the playoffs now, all right? So we're going to begin with the AFC games first. The first game I'm going to talk about, it is the Raiders versus the Bengals. The Bengals are a 5.5-point favorite as of the time of this video. And the way I look at it and how I see this game going to play out in terms of what I think will happen here. The Raiders were fortunate enough like I said, they beat the Chargers on a last-second field goal in overtime when a tie would have put both the Chargers and the Raiders in regardless. But when I look at it from a standpoint here, Crosby was a factor against the Chargers and basically getting to the quarterback. Now, look, the Chargers' offensive line wasn't as strong in that game, but I look at it from now in Cincinnati's point of view. The Bengals their offensive line is a little bit more stronger, so Crosby might have a hard time to get to Burrow. Now, obviously, all eyes are definitely going to be on Burrow because he did get hurt in Week 17, and there's going to be a lot of questions whether or not he's even healthy a lot to play in this game. So the way I see it right now for David Carr's first playoff game, this is his first playoff game since he's the first time he's ever played in the playoffs because the Raiders did make the postseason in 2016, but David Carr was hurt. So this will be his first test to see if he can adapt to a playoff environment. Raiders haven't won a playoff game since 2002. Basically, that was their Super Bowl year where they ended up getting blown out by the Bucs. The Bengals haven't even won a playoff game since 91. Bengals have the longest playoff drought probably in more than any team in the NFL. Well, when I look at this game here, the Raiders, can the run be effective in this game? Because that's going to be the key to ease the pressure off of David Carr, off of Carr. Excuse me. Yeah. So Carr really has to find a way to get the pass game going, and obviously the run, getting Jacobs to run the ball, is definitely going to be key for them to win this game. What about for Cincinnati here? Going about their defense here. If the Raiders have a hard time establishing the run, and they're going to have to rely on the pass run, keep in mind, the Raiders really had troubles all year on a lot of third downs. So basically, if Cincinnati does a great job of stopping any big play that Carr tries to do, I think they have a shot at beating the Raiders here. Raiders defense is going to be key to stopping Burrow. They did a good job in stopping the Chargers, but that's because the Chargers' offensive line wasn't as strong as the Bengals is going to be a lot more tougher for them. They're going to have to look. They got to be able to stop, not just to only stop the run, but can they stop big pass plays? That was one of the troubles they had last week against the Chargers. And knowing Burrow, he kind of has that same mobility as Justin Herbert. And if Burrow gets out of the pocket and makes some spectacular big passing plays, that's going to be trouble for the Raiders right there. If they're able to stop the run, but if they can't stop any big plays from Joe Burrow, I like the Bengals in this game. And who am I going to pick? I think the Raiders defense is going to have to step up in this game here to see if they can stop any big passing play that Joe Burrow has. And the Bengals are capable of making some big spectacular plays here. And who do I see winning this game? I'm picking the Bengals minus 5.5 in this one here. I think the Raiders defense here are going to have a much tougher issue with that Bengals offensive line, and especially if Joe Burrow comes out and makes some big plays, and if the Bengals establish a run, that will definitely wear the Raiders defense out for sure. The Raiders defense is going to have to do the same thing to the Bengals offense here. They got to be able to get to Burrow. I think it's going to be a lot harder for the defense and Crosby to get to him in this one here than they did with Herbert last week against the Chargers. So I'm going to pick the Cincinnati Bengals here. I think the Bengals will end their playoff drought. I think they'll get a victory here over the Raiders. I'm picking the Bengals minus 5.5. Bengals over the Raiders. The other AFC wildcard game, the Patriots versus the Bills. The Bills are 4-point favorite. And it would not surprise me if that number will be lower, maybe 3.5, maybe 3 by kickoff on Saturday night. This is the meeting between these two teams. Now, in the first meeting, the Patriots won on a very low-scoring game, and as they were able to establish a run, and Mac Jones didn't even have to pass the ball that much. Second meeting in Foxborough, the Bills' offense basically just dismantled that Patriots' defense, and really, it is going to be this is one of the most difficult picks of this entire weekend for sure. Josh Allen and that offense has to really be able to establish a good running game, and they were able to shred that defense like they did in Foxborough. Whether it might be a little bit of a factor in this one here, it's going to be pretty cold in Buffalo. And that is going to, I don't know if I want to trust Mac Jones in this game. This is his first playoff game, and obviously and most rookies in terms of the first playoff experience, they tend to do horribly. Obviously the Patriots probably they're going to have to establish the run here in order to wear that Bills defense here. I don't think it's going to be the same result as it was in the first meeting in Buffalo. I think, to me, the Bills are going to be more prepared now for this game. They wanted that home field for a reason. It's going to be cold in Buffalo, and it's going to be a lot physical, and it's going to be a lot more physical than the first two games. If Josh Allen and that offense really gets it going here much better like they did in Foxborough here, I like the Bills in this game. But knowing Belichick and his subpar genius in terms of his defense here, they got to be able to stop any sort of big offensive plays in order to beat the Bills. It is going to be a very close game. Like I said, one of the tougher games to pick this weekend. No question. I think the Bills are going to edge out a victory against the Patriots. I don't know if I want to trust Mac Jones with the ball, because that's the key for the Bills defense to make. They're going to try to make Mac Jones beat them. And if they're able to stop the run and make Mac Jones try to beat him, I like the Bills in this game, but it is going to be such a close game here. It'll probably be low scoring like it was in the first meeting. But this time, I see the Bills coming out the victor here. Josh Allen having 2 playoff wins under his belt. I think, to me, the experience is definitely going to help him here in this one here. Is no question it'll be a close game, but I'm picking the Bills in here, picking the Bills minus 4 in this one here. I think that if the Bills offense, I think, will play much better than they did in the first meeting in their home field. I don't know if I want to trust Mac Jones in this game. I'd like the Bills in this one here to beat the Patriots here. Bills minus 4, Bills over the Patriots. And the last of the AFC wildcard games, it is the Steelers versus the Chiefs. The Chiefs are a huge 12.5-point favorite in this one here. I really think that number should be much lower. Keep in mind, the first meeting between the Steelers and the Chiefs, it wasn't that long ago. It was back. I think it was back in week 15 or 16, I think. The problem here is that for the Chiefs. They were fortunate enough that the Steelers defense at that time was a little depleted, and TJ Watt, I think didn't play in that game as well. I think it was because of COVID protocols at that time. It is going to be a much more different result in this game, for sure. Chiefs blew out the Steelers back 3-4 weeks ago. It is not going to be the same result. I don't think so. TJ Watt is going to be a main factor in this game, especially helping that Pittsburgh defense and maybe hoping giving the ball to Ben Roethlisberger. It will definitely be a much closer game than it was in that first meeting. The Chiefs are going to have to, their offensive line is going to have to make sure that TJ Watt doesn't get to Patrick Mahomes, because TJ Watt has definitely been the MVP this season, and that Pittsburgh defense, the reason why the Pittsburgh is in the playoffs, because they were able to win their last 3 games. It's going to be a much closer result, guaranteed. I don't see this game anyway a blowout. And I definitely think for this game, it's going to come down to whoever has the ball last. This game will definitely go back and forth for sure. But I am not. So far, in many times that I've picked any game that involves the Chiefs that I had to talk about in making picks here, you just cannot count out Patrick Mahomes and his ability to make plays. And that is where the Pittsburgh defense going to have to find a way to make sure that Patrick Mahomes doesn't get out of the pocket to even become a threat to run, or let alone make a pass to any receiver that's open. Let's see if they're able to hold Travis Kelce at bay. It's going to be a huge, huge factor in this one for that Pittsburgh defense. TJ Watt's got to get going, finding a way to get to Patrick Mahomes here. I don't think the Steelers have enough to beat the Chiefs in this one here. It'll definitely be a close game. I could see this game ending on a field goal. And I think the Chiefs, if they get the ball last, I think will end up winning this game. So who am I picking in this one here? I like the Chiefs minus 12.5 here, even though I think it's going to be much lower by the time it's kickoff. I think you just can't underestimate what Patrick Mahomes can do, and the way that the Chiefs defense has played. They've improved since their first half debacle. I think, to me, it'll be a closer game than it was in that first meeting against the Steelers, but I'm going to pick the Chiefs here. I think the Chiefs will end Ben Roethlisberger's career on that same game. I like the Chiefs in this one, minus 12.5, Chiefs over the Steelers. All right, switching gears now over to the NFC. NFC wildcard game, Eagles versus the Buccaneers. The Bucs are an 8.5-point favorite in this one, and I would say that's just about right. Eagles have been fortunate to make the playoffs despite all the troubles that teams like the Vikings and the Saints and all that, they weren't much of a factor. And there's a lot of questions right now for Tom Brady and that offense. Luckily, Mike Evans is back, so he will be a factor. And Gronkowski, I think, is getting a little bit more healthier now. I think the Bucs, in terms of their offense, they might be just fine. This is going to be a huge test for Jalen Hurts to see if he can handle the playoff pressure. And I really don't want to take too much time in talking about this game because the Eagles were fortunate to get a playoff spot. But let's see if the Eagles can establish any sort of run game to help Jalen Hurts in that offense. Otherwise, Jalen Hurts will have to throw the ball or even become the threat to run to try to wear down that Bucs defense. Now, for Tom Brady here, obviously Evans and Gronkowski are his main weapons right now, but they got to establish a run. They got to be able to establish a run. I know that Forte haven't been able to run all that well, obviously, because he's been hurt. But I think he'll be more ready for this game. I really think here the Bucs should win this one here because the Eagles have been fortunate to get in the postseason. I don't see any way. I just don't see it happening in this one here. I tipped that for the Eagles to beat the Bucs here. I'm not going to see it happening here. I'm picking the Buccaneers in this one here, minus 8.5 here. I think for the Eagles, they're just fortunate enough to get in the postseason, but knowing Tom Brady and all the experience he has and what he's done with the Bucs, I like the Buccaneers in this one here. I just think they're gonna win. They're gonna move on to the second round here. I don't give the Eagles much of a chance in this one here. They might make it a game, but I think the Bucs will pull away in the second half. I'm gonna pick the Buccaneers in this one here at minus 8.5. Buccaneers over the Eagles. NFC wildcard game, the 49ers versus the Cowboys. This is actually quite an interesting matchup here. 49ers fortunate enough to get in the postseason. They were lucky to beat the Rams on the final game of the regular season. And the big X factor for the 49ers has been Deebo Samuel. This guy's been a beast. He has really torched defenses in their He's torched a lot of NFL, other teams' defenses in the last 5 games. He's going to be quite an X factor in this one, and especially for Nick Bosa on defense here. The Cowboys in their last few games, they're playing in a division that is so horrible, and they were fortunate enough to win by 50 plus points. Now the question is going to be facing a defense that's almost as similar as theirs. Can they establish the run and find a way to keep Nick Bosa at bay? Because that is one of the factors here in this one here. Can they keep Nick Bosa and that defense at bay for Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott to run amok on their offense? Cowboys are a 3-point favorite in this one here, and it wouldn't surprise me if it goes to 2.5, maybe 2. I'm going to look at this as one thing here. If there's one opponent that probably anybody in the NFC didn't want, that's the 49ers. And the Cowboys got them. I think, to me, the Cowboys going back finally in the postseason after a couple of years is a team that they did not want to face in the first round, and that definitely is the 49ers. I'm going to pick the 49ers for a couple of reasons. One, Deebo Samuel is going to be a factor here. I think, to me, he's going to shred that Cowboys defense. And 2, if they can't stop Nick Bosa, I think, to me, the Cowboys are in trouble here. I'm picking the 49ers here in an upset. And that is one of the reasons why I'm going to go with that pick. 49ers plus 3 on this one here. 49ers over the Cowboys. And the last NFC wildcard game, and definitely one of the tougher picks here, it is the Cardinals versus the Rams. It is the third meeting between these two teams. They split 1-1, each winning on their opponent's home field. Rams are a 4-point favorite in this one here, and that number is definitely going to get lower. Rams had to go get Eric Weddle out of retirement just to help with their defense. I didn't think that their defense now was becoming an issue. And not only that, Matthew Stafford has played so poorly in his last 5 games. Now, don't get me wrong, the Cardinals are dealing with their own problems as well. Obviously, they're not going to have Hopkins in this game. That doesn't help their offense one bit. It is really a tough pick here. This game could go either way between these two offenses here. Defense-wise, they're about evenly matched. This game could go either way, and it wouldn't surprise me if this game goes back and forth. But I don't know if I want to trust... I don't know who I would trust more to win the game. Matthew Stafford or Kyle Murray. I look at a couple things here. Look, offense-wise, the Rams have a little bit more of the better offense here, but in terms of defense, they're about as evenly matched. I think it is a tough pick here. You take this with a grain of salt, treat this with caution on this pick here, because this game could go either way, and I'm not sure about this one here. But I have to pick in this one here. I'm going to go... it's a hard one. I'm actually going to pick the Rams in this one here. I think the Rams will beat the Cardinals here, because I don't know if Kyle Murray and that offense can really get going, especially when they're really stretched thin and they had trouble establishing the run. Now, Matthew Stafford has to prove something, because his last few games have been terrible, but I think, to me, he'll rise to the occasion because he knows this is probably his last chance at the playoffs here. And the Rams are going all in this one here to try to get to the Super Bowl here. It's a tough pick here. I'm picking the Rams here, -4 on this one here. I think the Rams will barely beat the Cardinals here. It'll be a very close game here, but I'm going to pick the Rams over the Cardinals here. Rams over the Cardinals. All right, everybody, that wraps up my Super Wildcard Weekend picks. So make sure to stay tuned next week when I make my picks for the divisional round. So hopefully, let's enjoy all 6 games, everybody. Enjoy your football weekend, and I'll see you guys next week.